Arsenal Football Club pick up the pace in terms of their pursuit of Declan Rice. They have made it very clear to the camp of the midfielder that he is a priority signing moving forward in terms of the development of Mikel Arteta's squad. They're also internally deliberating a new winger and an approach over this January transfer window. We're going to delve into that in more detail for you during this show. Plus, of course, as we know, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has announced that he has formally bid for Manchester United. The takeover at Old Trafford is coming ever closer. And what is going on at Tottenham? What is going on at Tottenham Hotspur? Because credible links to Thomas Tuchel, credible links to a return of Mourinho Pochettino, Antonio Conte taking shots at Tottenham publicly. Is this going to end in disaster for them again? Hit the like and the share button. Subscribe to the Football Terrace. Let's go. Lots of clubs are interested in signing him. So there could be a bidding war for him. He brings a lot to the table, but the price is going to be at least 80, 90, or 100 million pounds. I think West Ham would be looking for something like 100 million. This was reported by Sky Sports in relation to Arsenal's pursuit of Declan Rice. And it's an intriguing one, Arsenal looking at Declan Rice. And I say that because Chelsea have been the front runners for a long time. But as we know in football, things change and they can change very quickly. This time last year, Chelsea were in looking like they were going to be in a title race. Things were going pretty well at Chelsea. Nobody would ever expected Arsenal to have a catch chance in hell of coming in for Declan Rice. Rice has been very open and stated that he wants Champions League football and he wants to be part of a team that's winning. But you fast forward 12 months and Arsenal are the best team in England. Chelsea are mid-table. Yes, Todd Bowley is spending lots of money, but it all depends on the desires of a player as to where they end up. Desires being how good the team is, the progression, the career path, and of course, Champions League football is a big, big factor for lots of players out there. And what's really intriguing about this for me is the stance of Arsenal in terms of not getting into bidding wars, which we'll touch on. The fact that Todd Bowley has come in so far this January and taken two Arsenal targets. Of course, we know that João Felix wasn't as big a priority, but Mahalo Mudrik was, and they essentially, in the end, offered better terms and much higher wages to secure the football player. And this is something that Arsenal fans have got to get their heads around. That as you move up the echelon and the ladder of the league, and this is more the younger Arsenal fans, the older ones have been here. Multiple clubs come in for the players you want. Whatever you set out as the ballpark of this is what we're going to spend, that's going to be challenged by clubs that are as rich, or in some cases richer than you. But what we know for sure is that Declan Rice is a major target of Arsenal. It's very unlikely that any deal is going to happen during the January transfer window that we currently sit in right now. This is more of a summer move. But as we know, and don't be indoctrinated by fools online, is that summer deals start now. They do. A lot of the groundwork starts 5, 6, 7 months before a deal is complete. Arsenal fans will remember the Gabriel Jesus situation. The talk started in the February, March time. Darwin Núñez to Liverpool, February of 2022. Conversation started between the club and representation of the player, of course, via intermediaries. Therefore, no rules are out here being broken. But this is certainly one to watch from an Arsenal point of view. You also have the situation with wingers, and Fabrizio Romano here has said, despite links with Arsenal, both Raphina and Ferran Torres want to continue at Barcelona. So this is the situation, and of course, the typical Fabrizio line as being as of now. Arsenal are discussing internally about the best candidates for a new winger. This has also been cemented in terms of Arsenal's looking at wingers and attackers by Sasha Tavolieri. Sasha has come out and stated, as you can read and see here, that Leandro Trossard is indeed a target of Arsenal. They were watching him this winter, but he is not a priority as things stand right now. So Arsenal are looking to add more firepower, more players to their squad, both in January and the summer. However, I think we know one thing is for sure with Arsenal, and this is what I do not believe this is PR. Arsenal will not panic buy and purchase a player, spend money on a player that they don't see a long-term future with. That is something that Arsenal are just simply not going to do. They're not going to, if they don't want Lissandro Trossard because they don't see a 3 or 4 year plan with him, they're not going to spend the money on him. That's a fact. The one element I do think is PR based is Arsenal won't get involved in bidding wars. So looking back at the Declan Rice news, Arsenal won't get involved in bidding wars. There's no point talking about it. You were in a bidding war for Mihajlo Mudryk. You made 3 bids. Chelsea made a verbal and then a final official bid. Arsenal's bids got higher because Shakhtar were rejecting their bids because Chelsea was saying they would pay higher. Arsenal increased their bids. And I do implore Arsenal fans to do one thing: love your club dearly, protect your club as and when you can, but engage in your own brain. Engage in your own brain and know that the whole "we won't get involved in bidding wars" is just a public negotiation tactic of trying to drive prices of players down, which is fair and acceptable. But you, of course, will get involved in bidding wars. You also did it in the summer with Lissandro Martinez by submitting multiple bids. That is quite literally the definition of a bidding war. Hit the like and share button. Let's do this, people. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has confirmed that he is officially entering the race to buy Manchester United from the Glazers. His organisation has entered the bidding process and has submitted um, their opening offer. We know that the Glazers want around £5 billion for the club, and I can't stress to you how big this news is. I can't stress to you how big this news is, and I say that because Man United getting new owners will change the face of football nationally and internationally. And the reason that I say that is because, and I'm consistent in this, I've said it about Chelsea and I've said it about Liverpool. It's going to cost you around £5 billion to buy Man United, and that will include paying off the debt. That will include paying off transfer debt. That will include most likely, elements of rejuvenation of the stadium, the leaky roof, and all that, and improving training facilities. 5 billion is going to cost. No organization is going to spend 5 billion and then let the organization dwindle like the Glazers did. The Glazers were in a privileged position. They did. Man United cost them zero pounds. They didn't spend a penny buying the club. They borrowed the debt. The football club, as a business, paid the debt and paid the interest. So the Glazers essentially earning £5 billion from nothing. It's a crazy world. You can't do it anymore, but that's what the Glazers did. You spend £5 billion of your money on a football club. Even if you're in this for an investment, medium to long term, you're going to sell it in 15 years. To get your 5 billion back, you've got to get the club to the top. The stadium's got to be good, training facilities good. There can't be turmoil, there can't be mad debt. Otherwise, you're going to lose money on your investment. So they have to run it well. But why does it change the face of football nationally and internationally? Man United can currently spend as much as anybody else. And I get a lot of replies, people saying to me, but Terry, the Glazers sanctioned huge spending. What's going to be the difference with new owners? You're still going to spend loads, and you have not been successful for a decade since Fergie retired. Man United fans typically do not moan about the amount of money being spent. The issue we have with the Glazers is multifaceted, multi-layered, but not about the amount of money we do spend, but more the poor projects, the bad recruitment, the terrible running of the club internally. No, for a long time, no culture, a terrible internal disciplinary record when it comes to football players, especially. No investment in the training facilities, no investment in the stadium, and the club becoming an absolute joke. Over 1.5 billion removed from the club in interest payments, loan payments, and dividends. Manchester United spending what we have on players in the past decade and not winning major trophies and not competing for major trophies is an absolute problem. But it's because we're now on our 5th project in 10 years. So every 2 years we start a new project, we clear out all the rubbish that failed before, and we start spending again. And we've never got it right. That's one of our major issues with them as owners. New owners coming in and getting this right, employing the right people at board level to run the club, investing money in players sensibly that fit the philosophy of the club and the manager in charge will see the national and global and international face of football change, with Man United not just being a financial powerhouse, but being a juggernaut compared to others. Because we've been taking hundreds of millions of pounds out the club each year to pay for the debt, to pay for dividends, and we're still able to spend pretty much what everybody else can. Stick another 150 million pounds a year just from what we earned commercially as a club into transfer kitties and player contract renewals. No one in England can touch us. You then couple in new sponsorship deals and capital being injected into the club by owners, which is highly likely to happen. Suddenly, Man United are 200 to 250 million pounds a year better off than they are now, with no debt, with no interest payments. And as long as the club is being run well, United will continue to compete. United will be remain as a powerhouse and dine at that top table for a long, long time. Spending money is key to staying at the top in the modern day game. But if you spend money but you're run poorly, you can't do it. If you're run poorly and you don't spend money, that's when you get relegated. If you're run brilliantly but you don't spend money, you can still produce good teams, you can still have great runs of form, but it's never sustainable. But if you spend big and you're run impeccably well, nothing can stop you. You won't win the league every year, you won't win the Champions League every year. That's nigh on impossible. But you'll be in and around the race every single year, like Fergie. That's why Fergie kept Man United in the Premier League era in the top three every season and continuously competitive. Few bad years here and there, but continuously competitive because we had money, we spent it well typically, but the club was run well internally with the structure. That's why for a quarter of a century, we maintained ourselves at the top. This isn't theory, this is based on pure fact. But the bidding process for Man United has started. It is scary times for rivals and very, very exciting for Manchester United fans. Antonio Conte here says that I've never seen the club or sporting director come here to explain the strategy or vision of the club. As reported here, it says this is getting real messy now, and he's calling them out. Absolute shambles of a club. Get these owners out of our club. That was obviously not the words of the journalist. That was the words of Spurs Extra, an aggregator regarding this situation with Antonio Conte again calling out his owners. That has been doubled down today with reports from Dan KP and Nazir Kinsella that Thomas Tuchel would be interested in the Tottenham job if Antonio Conte leaves the club in the coming months, despite his Chelsea connections. And this is when you know that the writing is potentially on the wall, potentially on the wall. When managers are coming out and telling journalists, I'll be really open to taking the Tottenham job. That tells you that Thomas Tuchel, and by the way, Poch is also in the running, are being told there is the potential. There is the genuine potential that this deal with Conte and Tottenham to renew doesn't go through. There is a possibility that Conte doesn't survive the season, and you're a manager that Tottenham are going to look at, and the manager's coming out and saying, "Well, yeah, I'm up for it. I'm up for it." They wouldn't even be talking if Antonio Conte's job was secure. They wouldn't even put themselves into that position. Now, this is where professionalism and sort of managerial courtesy plus my own future become a little bit the lines become blurred because Thomas Tuchel and the like have to make sure that Tottenham know they're interested without trying to be disrespectful to Antonio Conte. But at the same time, this isn't a manager that's lost one or two games. This is a manager whose Tottenham team is absolutely dross at the moment, struggling massively, and look like they're in big, big trouble. My personal feeling is whether it's him leaving, the club not renewing the contract, or an out and out typical sacking, Antonio Conte is not going to be the manager of Tottenham next season. I can't see it for love nor money. The relationship already looks broken. Harry Kane is thinking about leaving and doesn't want to renew his contract as things stand right now. They're not buying him currently the players that he wants. He's asking for a massive pay rise to stay, which makes no sense if they're not already currently giving you what you want because of financial restraints. them giving you more money isn't going to suddenly trigger them into giving into spending more on you and your squad. This is just another big mistake from Daniel Levy. This is another big mistake from Tottenham, and this is more disappointment for Tottenham fans. Whether Thomas Tuchel or the return of Poch is right, the one thing we know is that Tottenham's club has no plan. And as I've stated many times on the terrace, when there's no real plan, when the direction is poor, and when the running of the club is not putting the football element first, and by the way, Tottenham don't, they're more interested in concerts, NFL, turning themselves into a goddamn theme park attraction. It's basically Disneyland in North London there. The football will always suffer. If football isn't the first point of call, if the number one objective of the owners is not to make you the best footballing team they can in the land, you're always going to run into problems. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. But I want your thoughts and feelings on that, plus all the other news today. Declan Rice to Arsenal, Trossard or a new winger coming in, Man United's takeover bids have begun, and Tottenham in more mess. Make sure like buttons are hit. Make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.